They beat me for writing my thoughts, then asked why I don't journal anymore. English is my second language, so I'm sorry if some sentences sound weird. When I was little, I used to write and draw in my diary almost every single day. When I turned 9 years old, a family friend from Germany gave me a beautiful diary with a lock on it, knowing that I liked keeping a diary. The diary came with 2 keys for the lock. After the kind lady left, my parents demanded that I surrender one of the 2 keys to them. I refused. A few days later, one of the 2 keys disappeared. When I asked my parents about it, they became mad at me for suspecting them. They told me I must have been careless. For the following weeks, I wrote my honest thoughts in the diary, sometimes complaining about my parents. Every time I finished writing, I carefully locked my diary. In the meantime, I searched everywhere for the missing key but couldn't find it. One day, I came home after school and found my diary wide open on my desk. On every single used page, my mom had corrected my grammar and writing style in red pen. Also, in red pen and tiny handwriting, my mom disapproved of what I wrote about my parents. She wrote long commentaries about why I was wrong. As I flipped through the pages, feeling shocked, my parents told me to come out of my room because they had something important to talk about. That night, I got a beating from my dad. My parents said I left my diary open, so they got to see what I wrote down. They said they were disappointed. I cried and promised them I would never write anything bad about them. We came to some sort of an agreement. I would continue to write diaries every day, but at the end of each day, I had to bring my diary to be inspected by my mother so she could check my grammar. They threw away my lock and its key, saying it was wrong to hide things from people who truly care about me. From that day, I became extremely conscious about what I wrote, and I started to feel anxiety. Every time I wrote something in my diary, I constantly thought about what people would think if they read it. Being conscious about the implications of my writing isn't a bad habit, but it made me hide my true thoughts and emotions. Every time I wrote or drew something on a piece of paper, I destroyed it immediately afterward because I was scared my mom might see it. A couple of years later, I stopped writing and drawing in diaries. There was one time I started writing diaries again, but it didn't last long. One day, I came home to find my mom in my room, reading over my diary. I asked her to put it down, and she yelled at me, saying that I shouldn't treat her like a stranger. So I stopped using that diary and began writing on my laptop. But my parents had the habit of coming into my room without knocking. They still do that now. They would often come into my room, stare at my screen, and read my writings aloud. If they found it funny, they would yell at their partner to come inside and take a look so they could laugh together. So I stopped journaling and writing entirely. 10 years passed. A week ago, I found one of the keys to my diary in a small drawer where we keep all our keys. I showed it to my parents and asked why they lied to me about the key when one of them went missing. They got mad. They told me they just found the key recently and put it in the drawer. I didn't believe them. I also didn't believe them back when they said I left my diary open. Yesterday, I was trying to remember something from earlier this year. My mom walked by, tutted, and told me I would have remembered it if I had just kept writing diaries. I got extremely angry, but there was nothing I could do. Trying to talk with my mom only makes things worse because she does not want to be criticized. Thanks to her and her husband, I am now terrified of writing anything physically on paper. My hands are shaking as I'm writing this. I could never share this story with anyone, and I don't have many close friends to tell. Writing this has somewhat calmed me down, but I will never forgive them for crippling my ability to write diaries and remember my past. Thank you so much for your kind words and encouragement, for sharing your stories with me, and for your support. I wish I could reply to every single one of you. I can't get out of my parents' house just yet, because I still have to save more to move out and afford the rent in my city. All these years, I thought my parents were my moral compass, until one day I started to think, how come they have always been right and never wrong? They are human, not gods. It was always me who was not remembering things right. Even when I was right, they would say, this shouldn't make you feel smug. You know I'm always right. I don't know if it's right to say I'm glad I'm not the only one. I am so sorry that you went through these horrible people who stifled and terrorized one of the most important stages of your life. I am thankful to see supportive comments from people who understand what I've been through and helped open my eyes. r/Raised Narcissists does seem like a place for me to check out. Thank you again.